Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming for this webinar. We're going to give people another couple of minutes to join in. While we wait, can we have like a couple of people telling us what you are expecting out of this, what you're hoping to gain from the webinar? Maybe Vivek, who was one of the first people to join, if you're interested, could you share your thoughts? Or Satish, maybe Satish Nanjapaji, if you'd like to share what you would like to experience in this, what you'd like to learn.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm working with Honeywell Automation India Limited. My name is Satish Nanjappa, and we currently am supporting energy and sustainability project.
Mhm.
So that under sustainability, mainly we are doing as a Honeywell more onto the energy, HVAC, and those energy related. But when it comes to the sustainability, water, everything, it's waste and water also main equivalent to energy now because of the current situation, the things are going on. So based on that, I wanted to know what are the latest technology so that I can use this one in my job or suggest to the customer clients.
Wonderful. I hope you will be able to get more information from today's session.
Yeah.
Anyone else who'd like to share what they're hoping to get from this webinar?
So myself, I have completed my IGBC, lead AP, and USGBC, and those certification also.
Congratulations.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Chintan Kumar, would you like to share what you're expecting from this meeting, from this webinar? Pranav, Ranjan, maybe Shakil, Swastik, any of you would like to share your thoughts? Okay, so it's nearly 7:10, so let's get started with the webinar. And welcome again to this World Water Day webinar, where we're going to be talking about the latest technology for sure, and what kinds of innovation is possible in terms of water management. Um, it's becoming more clear as we proceed every year that demand is far outstripping supply in terms of water. Most of the time, when we think that a billion people are living in regions of water scarcity, the first image that comes to mind is someone who's standing with their hands like this underneath a tap that is dripping a small amount of water. So it's very easy at that point to think it's someone else, it's somewhere else. The 1.2 billion people does not include people like you and me. It, however, I would actually like to say that water scarcity goes in three stages. The first stage is when there is no scarcity, when there is abundance. And what does that look like? That looks like um, the municipal authorities being able to provide all the water that their residents need, where someone doesn't need to think about water at all, where there is enough water and more for any reasonable amount of consumption for everyone within a region. I think it's quite obvious to all of us that we don't live in that scenario, which then leads us to stage two, which is where most of us are, which is where most of the 1.2 billion people are. We are not having taps that are running dry. Instead, what we are having is we have to put in a lot of effort, either in our personal capacities for in our residences or in official capacities as as people who are managing facilities, it also means that any home that you buy or any property that you rent will definitely have a very complicated water infrastructure. It's not just a case of underground pipes bringing you treated, potable, clean, healthy water from a centralized source straight to the taps. It means that governments and municipal bodies only provide water for a very limited time every day for every locality. That means that our experience of water abundance, that is, you open a tap whenever you want, you get as much water as you want, is actually an illusion. It's an illusion that is maintained because there are tankers on the roads that are bringing water from distant watersheds towards your homes and your offices. It means that there is somebody who's employed to turn on and off your water pumps. It means that every building has underground water storage, pumping systems, overhead water storage, water treatment facilities, all for every building. It's no longer centralized because it's not possible to maintain it at a centralized level. It automatically means when you put in this much effort in order to get and maintain this illusion that you have sufficient water, the cost of maintaining this infrastructure will constantly keep increasing. In some places, it will be acute. The minute summer comes in, you're not going to get enough water. You have to purchase water from tankers. In other places, it's gradually increasing maintenance costs every year, and it is not just related to the age of a building or having to do regular maintenance. It is largely due to the amount of work, effort, and time that goes into maintaining, procuring, and treating water. When this happens, when there is a cost which is not apparent, it's not like for electricity, you use less, you pay less. Instead, water comes under a large umbrella where all the costs of it, whether it is employing a person to manually run your pumps, or it is running your water treatment and sewage treatment plants, or it is just directly procuring water from tankers, these are all clubbed together and then divided among all the stakeholders in a community, whether it is residents, whether it is residents in a community, whether it's tenants in a commercial building, it's just divided equally. So for a moment, just consider what it would look like if you played a flat rate for electricity, no matter how much electricity you used. In summers, would you really turn off your AC at all? Would you bother to close the door of your house, of your room, when you walked out to conserve electricity? You won't. When there is no direct cost attached to it, when there is no direct incentive towards saving a resource, as a general group, that resource is going to get wasted. There will always be people in every community who are driven by sustainability, who are committed to being mindful about their usage of resources, but that will always be a very small sliver. In order to change, conserve, and realize that we are in stage 2, and stage 3 is dry taps. Scarcity, water scarcity, stage 3 is dry taps. We are right now in stage 2, and to ensure that we bring about a community level change in how water is viewed, we cannot sustainably rely on just people believing in sustainability. There has to be a information available to people as to how much water they're using. There has to be an incentive, direct monetary incentive to using less. And there has to be an immediate, predictable disincentive to using more or wasting water. At this point, would someone like to take a guess as to how much water they are using on a daily basis per day just to maintain yourself, cooking, cleaning, washing, um, How much water do you think you use? Anyone wants to take a guess? It's difficult, right? Because you're not used to thinking about water at all. The central government's guideline is it should be 135 liters, including the water that is used for flushing. Most of us don't have any idea whether we're falling within this number or outside of this number. Whereas it's reasonably easy to say, I use this much electricity, my electricity bills come up to this much, which means a certain amount of energy usage. When people start being able to measure the amount of water they're consuming, when there is a certain strong accountability that we build in, there are remarkable things that happen. The question of who is responsible for water, I'd like to take an example of a commercial building. It's called RMZ Skyview. It's a premium high-end commercial building in Hyderabad. And they have an enormous amount of water usage every day. But just think about any mall that you have visited, any commercial building that you have visited. You walk into a restroom, you see an open tap. What do you do? Who is supposed to be responsible for that water? Is it possible for someone to be monitoring every consumption point? Is there any incentive for someone to conserve water? Is anyone being held accountable for the water that they are using? And even if there is an enormous belief that there should be much better usage of water, how do you make decisions about where water can be conserved? How do you make decisions about where you think water is being wastefully used? In the absence of all of these, when there is a lack of data, there is difficulty in pinpointing who's responsible for water, when it is tough for someone to constantly, repeatedly monitor water, and nobody directly benefits from saving water. What happens is that there is definitely a lot of wasteful usage. In RMZ, we managed to give an ultrasonic IoT-based water sensor that was monitoring the water that was being used across the building. What does that mean? It means that there is a centralized dashboard, and these sensors don't need anyone to actually go and check any reading. You don't have to open a flap or look at a dial. The data comes to you instead of you having to go towards the data. It's updated multiple times an hour rather than being looked at once a day or once in a few weeks. And that automatically means that every tenant who occupies this building can be billed exactly for the water that they use. In 6 months, this system meant that over 2.5 million liters of water were being saved in this building every month. How did this number come about? It came from just 19 liters. In May 2022, the building was using over 5,000 kiloliters every month. By November, this had increased to 8.5 thousand kiloliters. This was a major point of concern for people who were monitoring the system from our company's side, which is when we approached them and asked them, how many people are using your building? When we got the footfall numbers, we realized that though water consumption had gone up, the footfall had gone up, he had more than doubled, which meant that per capita, for every person who worked there or visited the building, where they were earlier using 84 liters per day, it came down to 65. Every person using 19 liters of water less every day adds up to 2.6 million liters in a month. It's extraordinary how the numbers add up. There are so many sayings in all our regional languages about how many drops come together to form an ocean. I think this is a fantastic example of literally that 19 liters coming together to become 2.6 million liters. It's easy to also think at this point that this is something that is of relevance to large buildings like malls, like hospitals, where people are coming and going all the time, and therefore accountability is always going to be a question mark. But we have seen that when you create this kind of a system where data comes to the person who cares about taking action, it has an impact even in residential buildings. Mantri Splendor is a large residential community in Bangalore, over 200 apartments. We've been monitoring their system since October of 2022. You can see a gradual decrease. These are kiloliters. They were earlier using 3.4 thousand kiloliters a month. By March, we estimate that it should come down to under 3,000 kiloliters. This is a monthly reduction of 500,000 liters. If you think about how many tankers that is, with every tanker being about 24,000 liters, that's over 20 tankers that are saved every month. How did this happen? How did this reduction happen? When you monitor water very, very closely, it means that you get information about where water is being lost very, very quickly. Normally, if there is a loss of water, say in concealed plumbing, if there's water leaking from a flush tank into a western closet, very few people realize that that's happening until either there are damp patches on the wall or the tank runs dry, because your flush tank has basically sucked the entire overhead water storage system, just literally let fresh water go down the drain. When you monitor through an IoT-based system, it means the sensor is capable of giving information and alerting people about the location. It focuses attention and says, in this particular consumption point, there is continuous and unusual usage of water. It needs to be checked. In this building alone, I have personally seen there was a resident who was completely unaware that he was losing one tanker load of water every month. Similarly, we have had the facility team go in with us, peel little pieces of tile from the bathroom and see that there is a small leak that is constantly happening, which is another example of how water always is very patient. It keeps adding up if you don't address it quickly. It looks like a drip. It looks like a small loss of water. Unattended, it means it's happening 24 hours a day, every day of the month. It adds up. Now, monthly Splendor is able to hit the ideal water consumption numbers of 135 liters per person per day. Their tanker usage has come down by 400,000 liters a month. Their groundwater extraction has come down by 100,000 liters, and they have stopped having to extract rainwater, though they continue to harvest it to maintain their groundwater levels. At this point, are there any questions about any of the information that I have presented so far? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. Any questions at this point about um, how this happened? Is there anything you'd like me to elaborate on a little bit more? Do you need to understand the technology that's going behind this?
In month three, you have installed individual meters, or you have just IoT devices placed at critical junctions and you're monitoring.
Every home is being monitored at multiple inlets. So on average, about 3 sensors monitoring water into every apartment. So that means
Thank you.
they to see how much water is being used in the kitchen as opposed to the master bedroom, as opposed to the guest bedroom.
Thank you. Your reports will immediately point me out which is my source of leak, or where the consumption is abnormal, or what is it? Your dashboards.
So there are two parts in which we present data. There is the administrator's dashboard, which gives a slightly less granular but overall picture for the entire community. It will tell you things like kitchen of apartment 106 has had a leak and estimated water wastage due to leak is so much. The
Oh, it will
resident
predict a
of
leak. It will predict a leak. That's what you're stating.
No, it will report a leak. So if
Okay.
there is, so it is customizable. You can set it for how long you think normal usage is going to be. In monthly, it's set at 30 minutes of continuous usage at any inlet. So if you just think about how water is normally used, it's very rare for us to leave a tap open for any activity for 30 whole minutes. If you're filling up a
Right.
bucket, having a shower, even washing dishes rarely takes 30 minutes. So that is our standard system, that 30 minutes continuous usage. We give the residents, so in the example that I gave, the facility manager will, if he opens the dashboard, will see that there is a leak at 106 kitchen inlet. The resident of 106 will receive an SMS, an app alert, and an email saying that there is a potential leakage in the kitchen inlet. So it
Okay.
depends on the kind of deployment. There are many apartments that take only a single sensor for the entire house. So it's
Okay.
purely from a billing perspective. In those cases, we usually say, okay, 45 to 50 minutes is a better threshold. And then it'll only say there is a leak in this house. There is continuous usage in this house. And then investigating it becomes the community's initiative.
Okay. I joined in late. Did you demonstrate the dashboard or anything in this presentation, ma'am?
No, but I can if you want to.
Yeah, because that's one of the concern my property manager has been stating. So every time I need to dig into small circles and identify than what you're stating. So if something better is there, I would love to see that.
Small circles as opposed to, you can have it presented as a line graph if that
Mhm.
helps. Um, Hang on just a moment.
Friends, I'm not overtaking other questions. If you have others, please do so.
Sure. Just give me a minute. I just got a quick and dirty screenshot for you to see.
Okay.
That's what it could look like.
So this is the overall consumption in my tower or individual house.
This. Um,
Okay, this is an individual report. Okay.
This is the facility manager's dashboard, but what
Okay.
you're seeing as a line graph is an individual house's usage. So it doesn't have to be in bubbles. You can just
Yeah,
choose to
that's
have
right.
a graph. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any triggers based on like say there is some leak or some continuous water usage? Do you have a trigger which can pop up in my screen and state, okay, this is a flat, I have a continuous, maybe it may be a pipe burst or something?
Um, no, it usually just appears on the dashboard, but if it is attached to a certain person's house, they will get multiple alerts and they can reach out to the FM.
Okay, so you have that option.
Mhm. So basically, we are giving more data to the user, but we are also giving the FM a chance to look at what's happening overall.
Okay.
So if you're asking whether there should be notifications for the FM themselves from the dashboard for a pipe burst, no, we don't have that yet.
So in monthly, you said you have reached 135 liters per capita per day. Uh, because look, some houses are really big houses. So are you able to, because in government, I mean in our water usage, we say medium size houses, large and villas. So we have a various per usage consumption. So are you able to bring that to 135, or that's a number which you are trying to say we will achieve?
Um, it's not so. It depends entirely on the amount of initiative taken by the user. We can provide the data. What we generally see is that the community starts getting closer to that number. We are not saying that every person hit that number. It's an
Okay,
average.
average number. Fine, ma'am. Thank you.
But yeah, your question is valid because the larger the house, the fewer the people, the more the consumption is a pattern we've definitely noticed. Any other questions? Satish, do you have any follow-up questions about how this might be relevant to you? Do you want us to send any?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yes, it is relevant. We have showing similar way for the energy. So metered and showing the dashboard. So once the equipment goes more, that will alert everything that is there. So similar water also can. Now we
Right.
can propose this thing. Now water, the main thing is they have a less meters. So the challenge is proposing the meter and getting installed the meter also challenge. It's a expensive solution. Even if you propose, uh, mm, so with the minimum installation cost, what you told with IoT sensors and leakage, I think what is about absorbed outside, even leakage, we will be in the ground leakage will be not known actually. Unless until measure the input and output, what is coming from the municipality or service provider. So what is you are receiving here in between. So and even tanker also sometimes he will not fill the whole tank. He will take off the tank and he will sell. So that's a lot of things happening. So
Uh, those are problems and questions that we are actively dealing with. And if you are looking for a like specific solution that lets you measure how much water the tanker is actually delivering, or checking for distribution level loss of water, I think that is something we can look into. It's not only consumption level monitoring that is possible. Larger pipes, um, bigger, like bird's eye view of distribution in the entire community is something we can definitely explore.
So transmission and distribution losses you'll be able to figure out.
Yes, there are certain deployments that can look at this.
So any campus in Bangalore you have installed that kind of a system?
Can I get back to you on that? I know
Sure.
for sure that there are a couple in Mumbai that we are currently deploying, but
Okay.
I can request the team to get back to you about Bangalore
Sure.
to
So
balance.
anyway, my name is Vivekanandam. I'm from Prestige Lake Ridge. We have your meters installed in our houses. And apart from that, I work for a software firm. We do software for design and distribution of water network called Water Gems.
Fascinating. Okay.
So we do take inputs from IoT devices and do planning of network, calibration of network, resizing. So I mean, it's an interest of me. So that's one of the reason I joined this presentation. And today being a water day, so it was a up for me to join in.
Right. Um, the other thing that I didn't go into in very great detail is something that's close to my heart, and especially given my role, is what makes a particular kind of client successfully use our system as opposed to those who find it tougher to get a return on investment. I think those who come in with the qualities of water tend to be more successful. Those who understand that this is a long term commitment, those who realize that there is an element of patience and persistence that you need to bring into this any project. Anyone with operations or project management experience tends to be, if they are spearheading the project for their community, tends to be very successful. Mantri is a case in point, RMZ is another case in point. Um, Maximum impact comes from places where either the community has already worked to get buy-in from all the residents or from every stakeholder. A site that I didn't present, which is the screenshot that I have showed you, is from a residence in Electronic City, where well before they're not purchasing tanker waters. They have bore wells that work fine. In fact, their expense on water is pretty low per liter because they like run their bore wells and so on. But for some reason, they were able to think 3 steps ahead, say that we are one of the few communities that's able to rely on groundwater, and we should take steps to make sure that we can rely on it for as long as possible. And they, for some reason, work really well. There is very little push and pull among the different residents. So they saw like a 30% reduction in their water usage in days, what normally takes months. Um, the system went live on the 26th, 25th of January. By 27th, they were seeing a steep drop. They went to about 90 liters per person per day. They were already conservative and then became even lower. So if you're considering any kind of water management, whether it's increase in supply by rainwater harvesting and so on, or decrease in demand through this kind of accountability measure, um, it's going to be a long haul.
True, ma'am. I mean, we are. I mean, our society is also purely on bowels, and I mean, we just came out of a camp committee, and we literally struggled to convince people for this meters. So I understand that pain, but as a individual person, I understand the value of water. Every drop counts. But again, it's a mindset of 1,200 people in the society, which is a larger people. So it takes time. Yeah.
Right. And we've been pretty closely following the deployment at Lake Ridge. So I'm so happy that you came here today. It's
Thank
very
you.
nice to see you. Okay, if there are any other questions, I will request Celian, who sent out the webinar invite, to share my email and phone number. If you have any follow-up questions, anything you want to get into greater detail, please feel free to reach out.
Ma'am, can we have a very kind of a similar presentation exclusive to our residents? Will that be possible?
Absolutely. We've been trying to get that going for you guys. So organize it, we'll be there.
Okay, whom should I speak with? Because PPMS is handling our whole of we got association just formed. I'm the joint treasurer and a part of the water team, spearheading the water team. So ask somebody from VGuard to reach me out, and I would love to take it forward to my residents.
I was told that Mohan Kulkarni from your side.
No, he is not part of the association.
Oh, okay.
He's there, but he's part of my committee, one of water committee. He's part of a water committee, but I'm spearheading the water committee.
Wonderful. I will get my team member, who's the account manager for Lake Ridge, to reach out to you and set up a meeting.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? Please reach out to me on email or phone. Celian, please do send out the follow-up mail. And thank you all so much for taking time from your schedules to be here and to listen to what is possible in terms of water management. It's been fantastic to present something that I've been working with all my heart and soul for the last 8-9 months. So, thank you again.
Thank you.